Man, I gotta tell y'all, the day Shelly hit me with the "I need a break" line, I was like a deer in headlights. There we were, sipping coffee on a lazy Sunday. The sun was shining, birds chirping, a picture perfect day, right? Then bam, she drops this bombshell. She's all Barry. I need some time to figure stuff out. Gonna stay with my folks for a bit. I'm sitting there, coffee halfway to my mouth, frozen. A break? I ask. That word, break. It's like a sledgehammer to a glass house. I mean, we've had our ups and downs, sure, but this was out of left field. Shelley, she's fiddling with her cup, avoiding my eyes. I need some space, Barry, to sort out my feelings. Her voice is steady, but I can tell she's not 100% on this. There's this tremble, see, a little quiver that says she's as scared as I am. I'm trying to keep cool, but inside, I'm a mess. And what about loyalty, huh? You planning on staying true during this break? I'm grappling for something, anything to make sense of it all. Shelley sighs, this long, heavy sigh that seems to pull the air out of the room. I don't know, Barry. Maybe I need to explore. Other things. Other things. That phrase hits me like a punch in the gut. Betrayed, that's what I feel. Here I was, thinking we were solid, and she's out there wanting to explore. I'm trying to process this, but it's like my brain's stuck in a loop. Break, explore, betrayal. Next thing I know, I'm in my office, papers spread out in front of me. Legal stuff, separation papers. My hands shaking as I fill them out. It's like I'm on autopilot, you know? Part of me thinks this is just a phase. We'll laugh about it someday. But the other part, the louder part, is prepping for the worst. Divorce bill, population, me. Shelley's watching me from the doorway, her face all crumpled up like she's about to cry. But she doesn't say anything, just turns and walks away. And I'm there, pen in hand, signing away the life we built together. Crazy how quick things can change. Huh? Looking back, I can't help but wonder if I overreacted. Maybe I should have fought for us, for her. But in that moment, all I could see was the end of the road. The end of us. And man, that was a tough pill to swallow. All right, so let me paint you the picture of what went down after Shelley dropped her. I need a break. Bomb. Things spiraled, and fast. I mean, one minute we're talking about needing space, and the next, it's like we're in the middle of a hurricane. It was a Tuesday, a couple of days after the big announcement. The tension in the house was so thick you could cut it with a knife. I'm pacing around, thinking, stewing. Every time I look at Shelley, I'm reminded of the break, and man, it burns. I've got all these emotions bubbling up, anger, confusion, a bit of fear, you know? It's like a cocktail of feelings, and not the good kind. So, I'm standing in our bedroom, looking at all of Shelley's stuff. Her clothes, her books, those little trinkets she loves so much, and something in me just snaps. I start grabbing her things, not even thinking, and before I know it, I've piled up half her wardrobe and all those knickknacks she's collected over the years. I haul everything to the spare room, just dumping it all in there. It's chaotic, a mess, but in that moment, it feels right, like I'm physically moving her out of my life. I'm sweating, out of breath, but there's this weird sense of accomplishment too. Then I see her, standing in the doorway, her face a mix of shock and hurt. You should leave, I blurt out. It's harsh, colder than I intended, but it's out there, hanging in the air between us. Shelley looks like I've just slapped her. She opens her mouth, but no words come out. She just stares at the pile of her belongings, then at me, and I can see it in her eyes. She's realizing this is serious, way more serious than she thought. For a moment, I regret it. Want to take it all back, tell her it's just a stupid fight. But I don't. I can't. There's this pride, this hurt that's holding me back. So we just stand there, in this silent standoff, the weight of what I've done pressing down on me. That night, Shelley sleeps in the spare room, among her scattered belongings. There's this unspoken agreement that we're in separate worlds now, even under the same roof. The house feels emptier, colder. I toss and turn, can't sleep. It's like every creak, every whisper of the house is reminding me of what's happening. In the days that follow, we're like ghosts, passing each other without a word. The air is filled with unsaid things, regrets, maybe even a bit of longing. But neither of us breaks the silence. It's like we're stuck in this dance, too stubborn or scared to make the first move. And then, one morning, I wake up to find a note on the kitchen counter. It's from Shelley, gone to my parents, it says. Just those 4 words, but they hit me like a ton of bricks. It's real now. She's really gone. That day, the house feels even more hollow. I wander from room to room, looking at the spaces she used to fill. Her perfume lingers in the air, a reminder of what's missing. I sit on the couch, the same spot where we've laughed, argued, made up, and I realize how much of us is woven into every corner of this place. I think about calling her, but my pride gets in the way. She left, remember? I tell myself. But, deep down, I'm wondering if I pushed her too far, if I've broken something that can't be fixed. It's a scary thought, being the architect of your own misery. So there you have it, the escalation. A series of small steps leading to a big fall. It's funny, how quickly things can change. One day you're planning your future, in the next, you're wondering if you even have one together. That's life, I guess, unpredictable, messy, and sometimes a little heartbreaking. Once Shelley left and the house got all quiet, it's like my brain switched into overdrive. I had all this time to think, to reflect, and man, did the thoughts come flooding in. There I was, in our big, empty house, just me and my thoughts. And they were all about Shelley, how she changed, how we changed. You see, a while back, Shelley went on this health kick. She lost a bunch of weight, started dressing differently, kind of morphed into this whole new person. At first, I was proud, proud of her for taking control, getting healthy. But I didn't realize how much those changes would affect us, our relationship. I catch myself looking at old photos, back when we were younger, a bit chubbier. But man, we were happy. There was this light in her eyes, a spark. Now, it felt like that spark was fading, getting lost in her new lifestyle, her new self. Our conversations changed, too. They became more superficial, more about her fitness routine, her diet. I tried to keep up, be supportive, but I felt left behind. Like she was on this express train to a new life, and I was still waiting at the station. Then there were the little things, her laughter, which used to fill the room, now seemed forced, rare. The way she'd turn away slightly when I tried to hug her. Small things, but they added up, gnawing at me. Sitting in that silent house, I started to wonder where it all went wrong. Were we ever really happy? Or were we just comfortable? Did I miss some signs, some cries for help? You start questioning everything, doubting every memory, every moment. I remember walking through the house, room by room, seeing traces of her everywhere. Her books on the shelf, her perfume in the bathroom, her gardening gloves on the porch. It was like she was still there, but not really. It was this constant reminder of what I'd lost, what we'd lost. Nights were the hardest. The bed felt too big, too empty. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying our last conversations, trying to figure out where things took a turn. It's funny how solitude can mess with your mind, make you see things in a different light. Then there were moments of anger, of bitterness. Why did she leave? Why wasn't I enough? But those moments would fade, replaced by this dull ache, this sense of loss. It's like I was mourning, not just for our relationship, but for the woman I fell in love with, who now seemed like a stranger to me. I started doing things to keep busy, to fill the silence. I'd work late, hit the gym, anything to avoid coming home to an empty house. But no matter how busy I got, there was always that moment when I'd walk through the door, and the reality would hit me all over again. It's weird, how you can be surrounded by people, by noise, by life, and still feel so utterly alone. That's what those days were like. A constant battle between wanting to remember and wanting to forget, between holding on and letting go. In those quiet moments, I realized how much I depended on Shelley, not just for love or companionship, but for my identity. Without her, I was like a ship without a rudder, drifting aimlessly. It was a wake-up call, a harsh reminder that I needed to find myself again, find my own happiness. So that's chapter 3, Reflections in Solitude. A time of introspection, of confronting some hard truths, and of slowly, painfully, starting to piece together a life without Shelley. It's a journey, man, and let me tell you, it's not an easy one. Before we dive into the next chapter of this roller coaster story, I've got a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying this tale of love, adventure, and unexpected twists, how about showing some love? Hit that like button to let me know you're on board. It's a simple click for you, but it means the world to me. It's like a virtual high five, telling me to keep the stories coming. And hey, why stop there? Go ahead and hit subscribe too. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming up next. So, take a quick second to like and subscribe. Done? Awesome. So, Shelley's over at her folks, right? And she's trying to get used to this whole newly single, free as a bird vibe. But let me tell y'all, it ain't all sunshine and rainbows for her. There she is in her old room, surrounded by memories of her teenage years, and it's like she's gone back in time, but not in a good way. It's more like she's stuck in this weird limbo, halfway between the past and the present. And those doubts, man, they start creeping in, gnawing at her. She's got all this time to think, too much time, really, and her mind. It keeps circling back to Malia and Sasha, our kids. She's missing their school plays, their little squabbles, the way Sasha's nose crinkles when she laughs, her Malia's endless questions about everything under the sun. It hits her hard, the reality of what she's left behind. And it's not just the kids. It's the life we built together, the routines, the inside jokes, the lazy Sundays in bed. She's out there trying to figure herself out, but she's starting to wonder if she left a part of herself back with us. Then there's the whole thing with her parents. They're trying to be supportive, sure, but there's this unspoken tension. Like, they're wondering why she's thrown a perfectly good marriage into the wind. And Shelley, she feels it. Feels their confusion, their disappointment. So, she's sitting there at the dinner table, pushing food around her plate, and it's like she's a stranger in her own life. She's questioning everything, her decisions, her desires, her future. It's a mess of what ifs and should haves. Nights are the worst for her. She's lying in her childhood bed, staring at the ceiling, and the silence is deafening. She's used to the sound of my snoring, the soft breathing of the kids down the hall. Now, all she's got is the ticking of the old clock on the wall. Each tick a reminder of the time she's losing, the moments slipping away. She starts doing these long walks, just wandering around her old neighborhood, trying to clear her head. But everywhere she looks, there are reminders of the past, of simpler times. It's like she's haunted by the ghost of her former self, the girl who had all these dreams and aspirations before life got complicated. And in those quiet moments, when she's all alone with her thoughts, the regret really starts to sink in. What have I done? She asks herself. She's made this big, bold move, sure, but at what cost? She's got freedom. Yeah, but it's a lonely kind of freedom, the kind that feels more like isolation than liberation. So that's chapter 4, Doubts and Regrets. It's all about Shelley grappling with the consequences of her decision, realizing that maybe, just maybe, the grass ain't always greener on the other side. It's a tough pill to swallow, realizing you might have made a mistake, especially when there's no easy way to fix it. But that's life, right? A series of choices, some good, some not so good, and learning to live with them. Now, this is where things start getting a bit more, let's say, intense. I'm not the kind of guy to just sit on my hands, you know? With Shelley gone and the house feeling more like a ghost town every day, I figured it was time to make some moves. First things first, the assets. I'm no Scrooge, but I've worked hard for what we have, and the thought of losing half of everything to a maybe divorce? Yeah, that didn't sit well with me. So, I got myself a lawyer, a real shark, and we started locking things down. Bank accounts, the house, investments, you name it. We secured it. Might sound harsh, but in times like these, you gotta protect your turf. But that wasn't the hardest part. No, sir. The rail kicker was the kids, Malia and Sasha. They're my world, and the thought of them getting caught in the crossfire of a messy split? Unthinkable. So, I'm pushing for full custody. It's not that I want to cut Shelley out, but I can't have them bouncing back and forth like ping pong balls. They need stability, a routine, and I'm hell-bent on giving it to them. Now, About that work trip. It's been on the cards for a while, a big project overseas, a real career maker. But with everything going on, it felt like the perfect opportunity for a fresh start, a chance to get away from all the drama. So, I pull some strings, get the okay to take Malia and Sasha with me. A working holiday, sort of. The kids are psyched. New places, new faces. For me, it's a bit more complicated. Sure, it's a chance to bond, make some memories, but it's also me stepping into this new role, single dad, globetrotter, Mr. Independent. It's exciting, but daunting as hell. Prepping for the trip was a whirlwind. Passports, tickets, packing, it's like a military operation. And the whole time, I'm trying to keep things light, fun, but inside, I'm a jumble of nerves. This trip, it's not just a getaway, it's a statement. I'm showing Shelley, the kids, the world, that I can handle this, that I'm not just going to crumble and fade away. The night before we leave, I'm tucking the kids into bed, and Sasha, she's got this worried look in her eyes. Will mommy be okay without us? She asks. Man, that hit me right in the feels. I tell her mommy's going to be just fine, that we're all going to be just fine. But as I'm saying it, I'm wondering the same thing myself. So, we set off, the three of us, off on this adventure. And as the plane takes off, I'm looking out the window, watching the ground slip away, and it's like I can feel the weight lifting. We're starting over in a way, a new chapter, a chance to rewrite our story. It's scary, yeah, but it's also kind of exhilarating. Shelley, she's having this big epiphany over at her parents', realizing maybe she's made a major mistake. So, she's thinking she can just waltz back in and patch things up. She calls me up, her voice all shaky, saying she wants to talk. I'm like, okay, let's hear it. So, she comes over. She's looking different, more like the Shelley I knew, but there's this nervousness about her. She starts with this big apology, saying she's missed me, the kids, the life we had. She's going on about how she's seen the error of her ways, wants to make it right, and I'm just sitting there, nodding, but inside, I'm feeling all sorts of twisted. Here's the thing: while she was out, finding herself, I wasn't just moping around. I'd started seeing Hillary, my best friend since forever. Hillary, she'd been there through the thick and thin. And somewhere along the line, things between us change. It wasn't planned, it just happened. So, when Shelley's pouring her heart out, I'm thinking of Hillary and how she's been my rock through all this. I let Shelley finish, and then I lay it out for her. I tell her about Hillary, how we're a thing now. You should have seen her face. It's like I'd hit her with a sledgehammer. She's stammering, asking if I'm serious, and I'm like, yeah, I am. The air in the room got real heavy then. Shelley's looking at me, her eyes welling up, and I'm feeling this mix of guilt and relief. Yeah, relief that I'm finally being honest with her, with myself. Then I hit her with another bombshell, the divorce papers. I'd had them drawn up, ready to go. It wasn't an easy decision, but with everything that had gone down, it felt like the only way forward. Shelley's looking at the papers like they're some sort of alien artifact. She's lost for words, and frankly, so am I. It was one of those pivotal moments, you know? She's realizing that it's really over, that there's no going back. And I'm seeing this chapter of my life closing right in front of me. It was sad, sure, but also kind of freeing. We talk a bit more, mostly logistics about the kids and how we're going to handle things moving forward. It's all very civil, but there's this undercurrent of, I don't know, finality? Like we both know this is the end of the road for us. Shelley leaves, and the house is quiet again, but it's a different kind of quiet now. It's more like peace, or maybe acceptance. The storm has passed, and there's this sense of calm, of moving on. So, there we were, me, Hillary, Malia, and Sasha, embarking on this new journey abroad. It felt like stepping into a different world, a fresh start. Everything was new: the sights, the sounds, the smells. We landed in this beautiful, bustling city, full of life and energy. It was exactly what we needed, a total change of scenery. The kids, they adapted faster than I thought. Malia, she's got this adventurous spirit, always curious, always exploring. And Sasha, she's more reserved but was finding her own way, making friends at the new school. Watching them, it filled me with this mix of pride and relief. They were okay. More than okay, they were thriving. Hillary, she was incredible through it all. She had this way of making anywhere feel like home. She'd cook up these meals, a blend of our old life and the new, and we'd sit around the table in our new apartment, laughing and sharing stories. It felt right, like we were building something special, something real. Work was intense, but rewarding. I was putting in long hours, but I was doing something I believed in, something that mattered. And coming home to Hillary and the kids, that was the best part of my day. We'd have these little rituals, like game nights or movie evenings, and it was like we were weaving this new tapestry of family life. Then, there's the big news. Me and Hillary, we decided to tie the knot. It wasn't a big, fancy affair, just something small and intimate. The kids were ecstatic, seeing us take this step, officially becoming a family. It was a beautiful day, full of love and laughter, a celebration of new beginnings. Life kept moving, and before we knew it, there was another addition to our family, a little one. Man holding that baby for the first time. It's a feeling I can't even describe. It was like a piece of the puzzle we didn't even know was missing clicked into place. Malia and Sasha, they were over the moon, doting on their new sibling every chance they got. Our new life, it was full of challenges, sure, but also full of joy and growth. We were blending our past with our present, creating something unique, something ours. We'd FaceTime with Shelley regularly, keeping her in the loop, making sure the kids stayed connected. It wasn't always easy, but it was important. The city, with its vibrant culture and diverse community, became our playground. We'd explore on weekends, discovering hidden gems, learning and growing together. It was an adventure every single day. And as I'd watch the sunset from our balcony, the city lights twinkling below, I'd think about the journey that got us here. It was wild, unpredictable, sometimes painful, but it led us to this place, this moment. And I was grateful for all of it, the good, the bad, the in-between. So, there's Shelley, back in her hometown, living a life she thought she wanted. But it's not all it's cracked up to be. She's got a lot of time on her hands, and you know what they say about idle minds. Hers is a whirlwind of thoughts, regrets, and what-ifs. She's watching from afar, seeing snippets of our new life on social media, the updates, the photos. And each one is like a little jab, a reminder of what she's missing out on. She sees pictures of Malia's birthday party, Sasha's soccer games, and it hits her heart. She's missing milestones, everyday moments, and it's eating her up inside. She tries to keep busy, throws herself into work, hobbies, anything to fill the void. But the silence of her apartment is deafening. It's in these quiet moments that the weight of her choices really sinks in. Her friends, they try to be supportive, tell her she did the right thing, following her heart and all that. But deep down, she's not so sure. She starts to realize that in chasing after something different, something she thought she wanted, she lost everything that truly mattered, her family, her home, the love and life she built with us. She's got this box of memories, photos, little keepsakes from our life together. Sometimes, she'll pull it out, sift through it. It's a bittersweet ritual, a walk down memory lane, but each step is laced with regret. And then there are the nights, the hardest part. She's lying in bed, the room dark, and her mind won't shut off. She replays everything, the good times, the bad, the mundane. She thinks about the holidays we spent together, the quiet mornings, the lazy Sundays. It's like a movie playing on loop, and she's both the star and the audience. She wonders about the kids, how they're doing, really doing. Sure, she talks to them, video calls, but it's not the same. She's missing the little things. The way Malia scrunches her nose when she's thinking hard, Sasha's infectious giggle. It's those everyday moments that she craves, the ones you don't realize are important until they're gone. She starts to understand that happiness isn't always about chasing the new or the exciting. Sometimes it's about appreciating what you have, cherishing the mundane, finding joy in the familiar. It's a hard lesson, learned too late. She's left with her thoughts,